Hold on. They can see me. Welcome to another episode of Let's Talk Sports. Listen, everybody who's jumped on, y'all hear me out here. We're going to let a few people see if a few people jump on. Y'all want to stay on this show. If y'all want to hear something about the Saints, if y'all want to hear some good stuff about the Saints, you jump on this show. You can stay on this show. If you're just here to watch the show, just stay on the show. We're going to give it about 10 more seconds. All right. Listen, thank you for joining another episode of Let's Talk Sports. I wanted to say something real quick before I start the show. It has absolutely nothing to do with NFL or football or anything like that. It has something to do with the NCAA tournament and gambling. Okay, so everybody know if you play the bracket on the NCAA tournament, what you do is you get the bracket, you look at who are the top seeds, and that's how you choose your bracket. You don't watch college football. For most of us, we don't have time to watch college football because it's so much and so many teams. It's hard to keep up with everything. So you don't really get a chance to see the teams who are actually playing in the tournament. What you do is you just trust the number one seed or the number two seed, and so on and so on and so on. Well, if you're a gambler, you have lost a lot of money in this tournament. I can promise you that. Because the number one seeds really weren't the number one seeds. You hear everybody be talked about on those different shows, and they're talking about the best college teams and who they expect to win. Tear your bracket up. Just tear it up. See, watching the NCAA tournament over the years when I watch, I start to realize something. Those players don't give a rat's. They don't give a crap about who you say gonna win the game. They know they got to beat you one time. Just one time. No matter how good you are, they got to beat you one time. And you're gone. And they realize the goal is 10 feet. It's 10 feet everywhere. So you sit there and you take those favorites if you want. You might want to do some research on who's who and who's what and this, and that, because I'm telling you, if you don't and you're a gambler, you're going to lose your butt off on the NCAA tournament. All that being said, again, thank you guys for joining us on Let's Talk Sports. Listen, I got two guests on my show. One is a repeat offender. He continues to come on the show. And then we have a special guest that's joining us tonight. So all that being said, anybody who jumps on, we're just beginning. We're going to introduce the people who are on this show right now. The first person we're going to introduce to is one of my friends. We grew up together. Him and I we didn't run in the same groups, but our groups always crossed paths. It was always a situation. Well, growing up in Shreveport, Louisiana, believe me, it's not that many places you can go. So everybody was pretty much at the same place. Now we would always cross paths. We were always cordial with each other, and anytime something popped off about sports, we could sit there and have a conversation. It was a beautiful thing. All that being said, let me introduce my homeboy. Grew up with me in the same era. Rod Matthews, third time on. Rod, say something to the people. Whoa.
What's going
he
on?
Got his Saints hoodie on.
What's going on? Oh, you know I gotta represent. I gotta represent. Right now we're talking about the Saints today. I gotta represent. Sometimes I gotta represent. Impartial, but I gotta represent today, man. I love being here every week. I look forward to Thursdays, man. I like to share my opinions. I like to be on and Let's Talk Sports with my man Richie Cole.
Man, I appreciate you, Rod. I appreciate you, Rod. Now, y'all not gonna believe this next guest. Y'all not gonna believe this. I gotta give you the story on this. Okay, so about 30 days ago, we was doing a fundraiser. We're actually still doing a fundraiser, by the way. We are always trying to raise funds because we want this show to be what it is. And look, I'm gonna put every dime that I can in this. Rashard can tell you that. My producer can tell you that. We're gonna put every dime I can in this. But this guy, never met him in person. Never met him. He watches my reels. He watches our podcast. He knows the freaking game. Remember, I told you this show was about fans. This show it's not about athletes. I'm sorry, I'm not calling Patrick Mahomes and say, come on my show. I would rather call the Joe next door and say, hey man, I want you on my show. And this guy contributes to the podcast. I don't know him. He'll tell you as soon as he contributed, I called him. I got on the phone and I called him. Bruh, thank you so much. Why did you contribute? Man, I like your stuff. And anytime you contribute on this show, you get a chance to come on this show. But the more and more I talked to him, it was like having a best friend I've never met because we had one big common thing. We both liked the Saints. We both knew the Saints' history. We both know we follow the Saints. And that's a common ground. It's like music. Music can bring all cultures together because it's just music. Well, sports is the same way. And when I say that, and I say that because me and him talk like we have been knowing each other for years. And I realized he had a love for the Saints just like I do. With all that being said, let me introduce y'all to my boy, Raya. Wait a minute. Hear the whole name now. Raya, who dat? Shipman. Y'all got that? Raya, who dat? Shipman. What's up, man?
Man, how you guys doing today?
Look, bro, listen. Please tell them. No, let's rephrase that. Could you explain to me what was your attraction to the show?
Well, I kind of just came across it and I started watching you, and what I like about it is you're not going with a whole bunch of numbers and stuff. You're shooting from the hip and you're giving us what your heart's telling you to say about sports. And there's not a lot of programs like that out there. You're asking opinions from fans.
Man, I totally appreciate that because a few people told me that I like watching you because you're honest. Mm-hmm. And it's not like you said, it is honest, it's facts. Sorry about that. It's honest, it's facts. I like doing things outside, I love the noise. It's honest, it's facts, but it's really from my heart. It's what I see. Mm-hmm. And that's just a special thing. All that being said, those who's going to jump on what we're talking about right now, what we're getting ready to dive off into, is the New Orleans Saints. We're going to talk about all different types of things about the New Orleans Saints, not just the draft, the free agency. We're going to talk about what we like about players. We're going to talk about all these different things. Please stick around for the whole show because we're about to get serious in here. I mean, serious. If you want knowledge and strong opinions about the New Orleans Saints and what they're going to do for their future, their present, and what they're doing as we speak, be on this show because we're going to talk about it. Now, with all that being said, Ryan, I'm going to start with you, okay?
All right.
You brought up a great point at the production meeting when you gave your opinion on who the Saints should draft. and it threw us both. It threw me and Rod off. I mean, because we were thinking offensive line, but you actually brought up the position, and that to me was just an awesome thing. Could you speak more on that?
Yeah. So one of our problems last year I noticed was trying to run up the middle. I mean, Kamara can do things on the outside, left and right, not a problem. But our screen game isn't on point. So, I believe that our first pick should be some beefiness, somebody big and tall and strong to on the offensive line. And my first pick is Osiris Torrance, the right guard from Florida. He's 6'5", 330. He's got a big wingspan. I mean, he'll be able to shore up protecting Derek Carr. I mean, he's just a great player in general.
I'm glad you brought up his wingspan and his size. I'm so happy you did that, because if you don't mind, tell them, an offensive guard, why do size and wingspan play a big part in playing guard?
Well, I mean, you're trying to hold the opponent in front of you, first of all. Also, when they're trying those swim moves and trying to get by you, you just wrap them up and keep them around without having to hold on to them. You can actually keep them at bay and still be able to break off if you got to go and help out.
And that's where that 330 come in at, because it's hard to move it. I mean, it's hard to move it. I looked at this when you said it last night in the production meeting. I didn't know very much about the kid, but I went and looked at this kid. I totally agree with everything you're saying. I mean, and you couldn't explain it. You couldn't explain it any better way. Bruh, hold on. I'm going to be right back to you. I want to go to Rod for a second. Rod,
perfect.
You brought up something in the production meeting last night. Well, you brought up several things. Both of y'all brought up several things. But I want to talk about this. Why don't you give them an idea? Because they obviously don't know, because I hear nobody talking about it. Why don't you give them an idea how good the New Orleans Saints tight end really is? Rod, I can't hear you.
I'm sorry, man. Yeah. Again, toward the middle of the season, Juwan Johnson really started to come on. And toward the end of the season, he became a real weapon for the Saints. I even see him, people who play fantasy football and all that. I say, get this guy on your fantasy team. He's going to give you 13 touchdowns next year. Mark it down. He's giving you 13 touchdowns, and I say 1,000 yards for a tight end next year, especially when bringing Derek Carr, who is the highest paid employee in the state of Louisiana. So with him bringing what he brings to the table, I think Juwan Johnson is going to be. I'm calling it right now, Pro Bowl tight end next year. Mark it.
Okay.
That's what I like. See, that's what I'm talking about. On this show, just make them bold statements. Pro Bowl tight end. And you really, when you think about it, you got Hutchinson over there. You got Hutchinson in Minnesota. You got Kittle in San Francisco. And you have him. That's really, if I'm missing one, y'all help me out. Waller just came over. I don't see him not making a Pro Bowl. It'd just be crazy. No. I totally agree with that. And actually, I'm gonna go a little bit further and say, maybe more touchdowns.
More than 13?
It takes the NFL a while to figure it out. So in other words, it'll be 8 games going by before they figure out we got to double this guy.
Yeah, it's true.
Which means the touchdowns just keep it. You know how it is. You get a couple touchdowns in the first couple of games, you're all right. Then you catch a couple touchdowns in the next 2 games, yeah, he's okay. You know what I'm saying? You have a 3 touchdowns, then they say, well, we might want to guard this guy. This guy can actually play. I mean,
I think we got a diamond in the rough, man, for real.
I mean, and I love that. What I want to talk about is, here's the thing that people, and both of y'all can relate to this. When we're talking about Rashid, right? Mm-hmm. It's a punt returner. I mean, I'm going to throw some serious stuff at y'all right now. It's a punt returner, right? That's what he was known for, special teams, right? Mm-hmm. So was Tyreek Hill. So was McCole Hardman. I can go even further back and say Billy White Shoes Johnson. These guys that return, they're return specialists, or they make great freaking receivers when they get it together. I think that the NFL is totally sleeping on this kid. The first time I seen him play, the very first time I seen him play, y'all may remember this. My mom was mistaken. If I'm not mistaken, he either ran an in around or a screen or something like that and took it to the house.
Huh.
I think that's the first time he touched the ball.
Yeah, his first two touches were touchdowns.
Was touchdowns, right?
Yep.
And really, what was interesting about him is how fast he was. And I was like, the Saints need to really put this guy on offense. This guy's way too good to be sitting on the bench for our special teams. Y'all hear me when I say this? There's a lot of defensive backs in the NFC and AFC gonna get torched by this kid.
Oh yeah.
And I'm calling it right now. It doesn't matter if Derek Carr got hurt. It doesn't matter. This kid is, how do I say it? I'm gonna tell y'all this. His speed is not a Tyreek Hill or McCole Hartman. It's not like that. His speed is more remind me of Jerry Rice. When he catches the ball, you can't catch him. But yeah, you're faster than him.
Sneaky fast.
It's what they call that football speed. I mean, it's like if you put him on a track field, he'll do all right. But if you put him on a football field, nobody can catch it. Look, there's a lot of people sleeping on this kid. And with that tight end, and I'm not gonna even bring in Olave. I'm not gonna even talk about him because we already know Olave is gonna be a threat himself. Well, we're not going to talk about that. I got too much to talk about. I'm not going to even bring up Olave. That's a whole nother segment, a whole nother show.
Yes,
because this boy is going to be really good too. I mean, and I think people are misunderstanding him because they think that he's going to be a deep threat. He may be a deep threat sometimes, but what Olave is going to be good at is possession, big plays, 20 yards, 25 yards down the field, book it. That's what I see him doing. So yeah, get ready for that. But anyway, let's stay on topic. Now let's talk about these two defensive tackles they just picked up. They picked up depth on special team, but I want to focus on those defensive tackles for a second. So let me give y'all before I come to you guys, let me give the audience a quick view of why the defensive tackle on an NFL team, regardless of what technique he's playing, is important. A defensive tackle on a defense is the reason why the linebackers can make plays to the running backs. So if you have two good defensive tackles, they can take up 2 blocks at a time, which means it frees up the linebacker to have a straight path to the running back no matter where he's at. And that's on a running game. So remember last year, the Saints kind of started faltering a little bit up the middle on the run game, not to the point where you had to be scared, but it was definitely noticeable. With those two defensive tackles, this ends. And they're agile. They can play several positions, and they're young. So with that being said, Rod, I'm coming to you first. What do you think about the move to get those defensive tackles?
Well, we talked about number one, we like the fact that they got Kalen Sanders in. You know, he's a 26-year-old kid. We got rid of I'm Your Mama, defensive tackle. I'm Your Mama making, he's making 3 years, $35 million. You know, we paying Kalen Sanders 3 years, $12 million. So let's start right there. Here's shout out, props, Mickey Loomis. You brought in a suitable replacement for a lower cost. That's called value. So I like that. And then we went over to the Jets, man. We brought that boy Nathan Shepard in, still under 30. He's a beast. I don't think a lot of people realize how good this kid is, man. So we're gonna see. I think again, you know me, man. I always say how big of a Mickey Loomis fan I am, and I think he hit it out of the ballpark again this year. We're gonna see.
Right, right. Ryan, we're coming to you with the same question. What did you like about the defensive tackles when you heard it come across your wire? When you heard that they had got these two guys, what was your first thought in your mind?
My first thought in my mind was, I miss Onyemata, don't get me wrong, because I think he was a great player. And I miss Shad Tuttle, too, due to the fact that he smashed Matt Ryan's face in the ground. That was awesome. Hey, facts. But I think what I like about it is they got rid of 2 older guys. Like y'all said, they're bringing in some younger. Nathan Shepard's 29, Colin Sanders 26. But the cool thing is both of them are higher on weight, and they can definitely stop the pass or stop the rush. That's what we were kind of having a problem with last year. Teams were just running all over us. Weren't we the number 5th defense in the league for years running for stopping the run?
Definitely
And then
top
all of a
10.
sudden, yeah, and then all of a sudden we just dropped off last year. So I think bringing them in, getting some new blood in there, also their I always say it, and the swagger. The Saints need to get their swagger back, and I think Colin Saunders and Nathan Shepard bring that, along with Jamal Williams. So get me started on him. That's an awesome pickup as well.
I mean, yeah. You see, the thing about it is, okay, just like we talked about in the production meeting last night, Nathan Shepard. He okay. So for those of you who don't follow the New York Jets, last year the Jets went in the draft and they drafted defense on every single draft. They drafted beast on defense. Well, I remember watching the draft saying, "Oh my God, these guys are serious about their defense." They kept drafting defense. So I go in the second round and I'm watching the second and third round. They still drafting defense. I'm like, okay, they trying to build their depth. This is that. Well, guess what? They probably one of the most loaded teams with defensive tackles, and the Saints just got one. Let me explain something to y'all. I'm gonna get you real hyped about this one. Nathan Shepard should be starting somewhere else, even last year. Nathan Shepard is going to be one of the best defense tackles in the league if he stay healthy. Now, y'all remember I said that. I'm just going to go ahead and say it, Saints fans. You have a steal. Nathan Shepard is a steal. You have no idea what you have. And if that boy can stay healthy, learn that scheme, you're not running on the Saints. You just can forget it. And here's another thing. You're going to feel that pressure when your quarterback drop back in that pocket. You're going to feel that pressure. I mean, so then when you talk about Colin Saunders, if you want to get creative, hey, drop him back in coverage, run a zone blitz. You can do zone blitz all day long because Colin Saunders can actually hold the running back, the tight end. He can run with them. Your defensive tackle can actually keep up with that. Let me remind y'all of something, Saints fans. If you watched the Super Bowl last year, Colin Saunders is the one that ran Jalen Hurts out of bounds because Jalen Hurts could not outrun him. He ran him out of bounds. The Philadelphia Eagles punted, and of course, you remember the Kadarius Toney punt return. All of that was Colin Saunders. It's 3rd and 2. Philadelphia can easily get the first down, and Jalen Hurts can outrun him, but he can't outrun Colin Saunders. And he runs out of bounds. It actually ends up being a sack. That's Colin Saunders. That's how athletic this guy is. You cannot move him around. If you double team him, he still holds his position. You can't get it. You can't. In other words, he can still clog it up even when you're double teaming him. You cannot move this guy. And on the pass, he'll sneak by you because if you don't watch, he loves that little inside moves that he does, and he'll get straight to the quarterback. Y'all understand, some Saints fans, if y'all are watching this, hear me when I say this. You ain't running on the Saints next year. I mean, it is just not gonna happen. Now, my boy Ryan brought up something that I wasn't gonna even mention, and we didn't go through on the production meeting, but I gotta do it because there's a reason for it. Everybody can talk about the subject. Let's talk about the running back pickup that the Saints picked up. Ryan, tell me what you like about this kid.
You know, I like his first press interview was what got me. I saw clips of him running with Detroit, and everybody saying he's a short yard touchdown. All 14 of his 17 touchdowns were short yards. Like, yeah, but did you see the long runs where he might have gotten tackled before? I mean, the dude's a beast. He's got Barry Sanders type. That's what he reminds me of, is Barry Sanders, the way he runs. And I mean, I'm excited. But his press conference, dude, when he stopped talking and his hype, and then he started talking about the Pokemon hat he brought and talking about what it was and how it works, man, that's that goofiness and that swagger that the Saints need back. That's what I'm talking about. They need that.
Now, you know that he did play with Taysom Hill in college.
Yes, sir.
I mean, he brings that to the table. Rob, what did you think about it? What did you think about that when they brought him on?
I watched him last year with Detroit, and I was amazed at the production that they got out of him. When DeAndre Swift went down, there was no drop off whatsoever. To me, they were really the same guy last year. Mm-hmm. He was really a big factor in what made their offense so potent last year, because he could tote the rock. He could come out of the backfield. He can catch the ball out of the backfield. Again, just like Ryan just said, he's a goal line presence, but his speed out of the backfield is amazing to be a guy that's strong. So I think we got one of the best free agent moves of this offseason. I think we did get a steal in free agency this year. I think he's going to, particularly with the uncertainty going around with Alvin Kamara, I think this is going to be a very important pickup for us. And by far, I think he's going to be one of the best backs in the league next year. Mark it down, book it.
Book it. Listen. Let me tell y'all something. Here's the thing that gets me about people in the NFL or when fans or teams look at an NFL player, right? If I wasn't drafted in the first round, I'm normally not really that good. That's why you miss people. You miss draft picks. When you think about it, when you think about Tom Brady when he was drafted, Joe Montana when he was drafted. I mean, when you think about all these draft picks that people that missed, right? They missed the heart and they missed the energy around the player, right? They just strictly going off stats, analytics. This guy, he's weak at this, he's weak at that. This is no. All right, well, watch this. When I first noticed him, and I know both of y'all seen this game, Thanksgiving Day against the Buffalo Bills. That's the first time I was like, I remember watching the game because I don't know if y'all remember, the other Thanksgiving game went a little longer. So the Detroit-Buffalo game had already started. So I missed the first touchdown. So I come on to the game, and I'll never forget it was like midway in the first quarter, and they was handing this guy the ball, and I was like, that's not their starter. I had to look it up on Google. I was like, I know that's not their starter. And I look up and I said, I knew it. DeAndre Swift is their starter. And I look at it and I'm looking at it, I'm like, so I keep watching him. And next thing, like Ryan said, this dude's breaking big runs. And I'm like, this kid can play. I don't know about anybody else. It doesn't take me a long time to look at a football player and see if he can play. But then I started noticing how he was, because if you watch I watch different stuff, but when I'm watching this, he goes to the sideline after he scores a touchdown, or I don't know if he scored or the Detroit Lions scored, but I'm watching him on the bench, and he's in just full-blown laughter about something. I mean, like he is just really having fun. Like I'm like, this kid should be a starter. And as the game goes on, I'm like, this kid is not a backup. This kid is a starter. There's no way in the world he can stay with Detroit. If they're gonna continue to have their starting running back, he needs to go somewhere else. The New Orleans Saints fans who are watching this or will watch this later, let me get y'all to understand something. You have a squad being built right in your face. As y'all know, I'm telling the truth. Both of you guys know this. Right now, the only people who are watching and keeping up with the NFL are true football fans. I'm not talking about these people who watch football when football season is here, and then when the season ends, they just go to basketball. No. True NFL fans, you guys know this, we never stop watching the NFL. We want to see every move, everything that's going on. So I'm telling the Saints fans, what you're seeing, I hope you watch it. And you're watching the Saints and they sign someone, what you're seeing is you're seeing a great team be put together. We can't say where they're going. We can say this. They are putting the pieces together to be a winner. I had them winning the division anyway. I really got them winning the division now. I'm sorry. I had the Saints winning the division. But now, the more they put things together and I see how they get together on the field, I may have the Saints going deep in the playoffs. It's just right there for you. What do you guys? Y'all can elaborate on that if y'all want to. Ryan, go ahead.
I was going to say, I mean, I agree. I totally agree with you. I think they're building something good, and if you notice the deals, there's not a lot of 1-year deals. They're doing 3-year deals, so they're planning for the future as well. So it's not like it's Super Bowl or bust this year. They're thinking, okay, if we can get back to the playoffs and get that winning thing going in New Orleans, what happens the year after that? I mean, I'd love to win the Super Bowl every year. Don't get me wrong, but you got to think longevity.
Yeah, Rob, what you think about it?
I think we have the best collection of talent in the NFC South by far, right? We just got rid of Andy Dalton. He went to Carolina. All right. So that ought to be 2 wins right there. So
I don't know why that man won't retire, but go ahead.
hey, look, everybody got to try to get a paycheck. I can't knock the hustle. You know what I mean? Go get your money, Andy. Just don't do it for us.
Just get your money somewhere else. I mean, like
New Orleans, bro. You know, if you come to New Orleans, you know, buy you some gumbo or alligator sausage or whatever, and keep it moving.
All right.
I think we have the best. I think we got the best team in the NFC South. There's not a lot of competition. Unfortunately, the NFC South has all of a sudden turned into the AFC South overnight.
Overnight,
terrible.
It's crazy.
I think we can definitely be the standouts in that division. And like Ryan said, we are positioning ourselves not just for next year, but to be competitive. You know, over the long term. You know, I'd hate to be the LA Rams. You win a Super Bowl, and then the next thing you know, you suck for the next 10 years.
The next 10 years. Right?
Exactly. So yeah, we're staying competitive. Again, my man ought to be in the Mickey Loomis fan club. Oh my God.
All right, so y'all check this out. First of all, for all the people that are jumping on, we want to thank you. For all the people who are going to jump on next, we want to thank you. What we're talking about, what we just finished talking about, was about 25 minutes of the New Orleans Saints in detail, why we think some of their free agent moves, who we think they should draft. We want on this show, we want to bring stuff you never heard before, or stuff that you have heard before, but we're gonna put it a different way for you. If you just keep up with the things that we just said, you'll be able to see the team being built. You still have the draft coming, so it's still one piece of that puzzle still there. Believe me, I can't wait for that. I'm actually thinking about taking the show live, doing the draft. But watch this. I don't want to do it in the first round. I want to do it in the second round. Yeah, because believe me when I tell you, I'm begging the New Orleans Saints to trade in the second round. But if they don't do it, you know I'm gonna support them regardless. But I want them to go to the second round. Y'all have no idea how much talent gonna be in that second round. I mean, like it. But with that being said, what we getting ready to talk about now, for everybody that are jumping on, we want to show you how broad our range is. Yeah, of course, all of us are Saints fans, but we're going to talk about more than the New Orleans Saints, because it's called the NFL. This it is not. I promise you guys, for everybody who view this show, we're going to always talk about the New Orleans Saints. Every single show, we're going to have something to say about the New Orleans Saints. But in this case, we want to talk about other teams too, because it's the NFL. They got 32 teams. This is fun to watch, and when you really get off into it, it's a lot of fun. The next team that we're going to talk about is a team that's really kind of, I'm telling y'all, watch out for this team. I'm just telling you now, watch out for this team. It's the Pittsburgh Steelers. So there's a lot of rumors about the Pittsburgh Steelers at the end of last year. Mike Tomlin is probably going to be fired, or he's going to. I even heard a trade. Somebody they were going to do a trade between him and another coach. Okay, so let's just get something straight. When Mike Tomlin leaves Pittsburgh, it'll be on his own accord. He will not be fired from Pittsburgh. Y'all have to remember what he's done at that franchise and all the things that he's done. But I'm going to be honest. Now, we all remember the Antonio Brown. We remember the Juju Smith-Schuster, Antonio Brown, Ben Roethlisberger, Le'Veon Bell. We remember the James Harrisons. We remember that the nasty Super Bowl that those guys did a good job winning the Super Bowl. We remember all that. But when that fell apart, we saw the end of Ben Roethlisberger, Antonio Brown. I have no idea what he did. I ain't figured out what Antonio. I don't want to ever say anything negative about Antonio Brown, but some of the things that dude did is hilarious, but it's also sad. I mean, but the dismantle of him, the Juju Smith-Schuster showing everybody that he could not be a number one wide receiver. All these different things just fell apart, and everybody just gave Mike Tomlin nothing. And what do? He turns around, go in the draft last year, and get Kenny Pickett. Now, I hear a lot of people don't understand. I'm trying not to get mad here, because every time I say his name, I get mad at New Orleans, but not Pickett. I mean, every single time I see him do something good, I just think about just shake my head because he's going to be that guy. He will be one of the elite quarterbacks in the AFC. Y'all remember I said that on this show. He will be. And then they turn around and go get George Pickens. I said, okay, Mike Tomlin is actually building here. I mean, I got my quarterback, I got my receiver, and now he's starting to put smaller pieces together, and they're younger. The only thing he haven't taken care of yet is his linebacking situation. But everything else, he's kind of starting to get it together. I'm gonna come to you first, Rod. I'm gonna come to you first. What do you think about the combination of Kenny Pickett and George Pickens? And do you believe George Pickens can be a number one?
Not only do I believe he can be a number one, I believe that kid is a number one. Did you see some of those catches that boy made last year, man?
Yes, I did.
I think he caught the ball with his toe last year, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, this kid is phenomenal, man.
Sideways, body turned up like this. I mean,
come on. His catch radius is outstanding. I mean, if the ball is within 6 feet of this kid, he's catching the ball some kind of way. So I really like him. He makes contested catches. He's fast. He's not afraid to go over the middle. He's not just a down the field receiver. I think he's a true number one. He has the ability to go across the middle, can get those big possessions for you on third down, and he can stretch that field. So I think this kid is going to be a number one. He doesn't have the ability to be. I think he already is a number one receiver in the NFL.
Raya, I'm gonna come to you. I know. When we were talking last night on the production meeting, and I brought up the point that if the Pittsburgh Steelers would go get another receiver to take the top off the defense, and I brought up that the Pittsburgh Steelers was this close in very much secret, and I watched some more stuff today, and I'm telling y'all, it's closer than you think of going to get Odell Beckham. If they get Odell Beckham, how deadly would they be?
I mean, I haven't seen OBJ play in a while, but I mean, he still commands attention. You know what I mean when he gets on the field, because I mean, he didn't invent it, but you said Pickens was catching with his toe. You know, OBJ was doing the one hand catch. You know, crazy breaking your back. I can't do that. I'm too old for that. But I think if you get him on the field and get him some catches and let everybody else know that, hey, you're gonna have to double team one of us. And once you double team one of us, I mean, they're going to double team OBJ more than usual. Dude, Pickens going to have a field day.
Right. And you know what's funny, Raya? I believe they should double team Pickens.
Well, they're double team.
You know what? I'm gonna leave OBJ alone now, man. But yes, I have questioned his fashion sense, but maybe just because I'm over 50 years old. I don't know. I mean, I have. Here's what I think. If they get OBJ, and Ryan brought up a good point, is he gonna be the same OBJ? The reason why I say he will is because I've seen the video of him working out. He hadn't really changed that much. As far as that, now here's my concern, though, right? Here's my concern that him being the same is not my concern. Him being able to stay healthy is my concern. If he comes over there, he's too important a part of a piece of that team to get hurt. It would definitely just throw Pittsburgh for a loop. Now, we sit up here talking about Pittsburgh, and we haven't brought up Najee Harris yet. I mean, so we know Najee came into his own last year. He started to really start getting going last year. Now, you're going to be able to give Pickett that option to play action, even without Odell Beckham. That makes that kid deadly. And we also know that Pickens is very, very mobile. Pickett can run too. I mean, people underestimate him, but believe me when I tell you, Pickett come out of their pocket, you ain't catching it. I mean, so when I look at the AFC and how stacked the AFC is with teams, and I see the Pittsburgh Steelers on the rise like that, If they're able to get their defense together, get that linebacking core together, get them another receiver that can take the top off, whether it be OBJ or somebody in the draft. Y'all remember we said it on Let's Talk Sports. Pittsburgh Steelers will be a team that you will be hearing about next year, next season. And with that being said, again, for those of y'all who are jumping on or going to jump on later, we just wrapped up the New Orleans Saints. We just dived into the Pittsburgh Steelers. And this last team that we're going to dive in, I'm excited about this. It's the Miami Dolphins. Y'all hear me when I say this? We're going to talk about the Miami Dolphins. Now, why do I say that twice? It's because if you're not in Miami, you're really not keeping up with the Dolphins. I can just tell you that right now. It just goes back to how you pick your brackets when you're doing the NCAA tournament. I mean, you only keep up with something that the TV kind of tells you to keep up with. It doesn't. Most of the time, and with fans that I've seen, all different fan bases. The only team they really keep up with is their team. They only pay attention to other teams when their team plays that team. They don't really know what they have. And when I tell you that the Miami Dolphins are they're attempting to build a super team in the NFL. Raya, what do you think about that?
I mean, there's even talk of Derrick Henry maybe going there. It's
I heard that.
I mean, yeah, if you're going to build a super team, they're doing it the right way. It's I think you guys brought it up last night, though. You hit it on the head. You bring that many egos into one team. How are you going to control that? And can Mike McDaniels be that guy?
Mm-hmm. I agree. Rod, give me your take on them egos being together.
Man, it's tough. You know, I think as I mentioned last night, you got to have a really, really big locker room for Jalen Ramsey, his head, and Tyreek Hill's head to fit in there at the same time. So it's not going to be a lot of room to walk in between those two heads when they're in the same locker room. I guarantee you that much. So if they can control that dynamic, look, there's no question about the dynamic abilities of Tyreek Hill, right?
Yes.
He showed you coming over from Kansas City that he's the truth. Patrick Mahomes, he's the man, but he showed you that, hey, I'm not falling off because of him. I can take Tua with his head halfway off his body and still be the leading receiver in the league. So between that and Jalen Ramsey, I think he has something to prove because he kind of got clowned his last year in Los Angeles. I think he wants to have a comeback year this year. So,
you know what's funny?
They have points to prove.
You know what's funny? And I gotta say this. This is gonna shock both of y'all because I didn't say it in the production meeting last night. I do not believe Jalen Ramsey is a cover corner anymore. I think you better protect Jalen Ramsey in zones. Because if you don't, okay, I know this is gonna sound really, really crazy. I know it's gonna sound crazy, but if I was their coach, I would actually think about putting Jalen Ramsey at safety. Now, y'all hear me out on this. Hear me out. The reason why I say that is because I watched him last year play against the Chiefs, and he guarded Travis Kelce all day long. He was mirroring Travis Kelce. Travis Kelce torched him. I mean, but not torched him to the point where it was embarrassing. But he did torch him. Now, the reason why you put your best cover man on Travis Kelce, you see, I'm going to put my best cover man on Travis Kelce. So here's what I want y'all to think about. Think about he has the range. He still has the cross the field speed. He do not have the deep speed anymore. And he's susceptible to the pump fake, the double move. So with all of that being said, if you think they're going to have a duo with him and Howard sometime during that season, because you got to remember, both of those guys are on the other side. They're getting ready to go down the other side of their career.
Mm-hmm.
You got to guard some of the best receivers. Let's just take the Cincinnati Bengals receivers. They say if you put those two guys against the Cincinnati Bengals receivers, how bad was Cincinnati doing? That's why I believe Jalen Ramsey should go to safety. I think that. Now, another thing that we realized with the Miami Dolphins is Tyreek Hill draws a lot of attention, as he should. Okay? But if you guys remember, when he was at Kansas City, they dropped them two highs and they double teamed him. and took him out of the game. Now you have Waddle on the other side, and you just let Gesicki go. So you got Waddle on the other side. You have no tight end threat unless you got somebody I don't know anything about, and I don't see it. So what do you do now? You know everybody. The NFL, which I'll agree, the NFL catches up with you. Whatever you did the year before, that next year they're gonna be ready for that. So when you take Tyreek Hill away, now what you got? You got Waddle, but you have nobody else. That's all I'm saying about Miami. But here's the questions I have for you guys. I'm gonna start with you, Rod. We talked about the ego, but what I want to bring up now is can that coach manage them? Can he manage all of those egos, Rod?
And I think that's really what is yet to be seen. The guy is brilliant. You know, listen to him; he'll tell you. He'll tell you.
He'll definitely tell you.
But yeah, he'll let you know that he's brilliant. But so as far as an X's and O's type situation, no, you're not gonna outthink this guy. It's all about how he's gonna manage those personalities, right? He has a big personality, big ego himself, and he's he's a fairly young guy, so he's not like he's coming with a lot of grandfatherly authority. So how he manages those dynamics within the locker room is going to really determine how far they're going to be able to go. Because talent, X's and O's, they got it all online.
I totally agree. Ryan, tell me the same question. How do we manage this? How do we control these egos?
Well, I think if anybody could do it, it's Mike McDaniels because he is younger and he does have that certain kind of vibe with him that a lot of players want to come play for. But here's the deal. It's like we talked about last night. Tua playing, you got 5 win streak. Tua out, you got a 5, you lost 5. So I think it's going to determine on if they're winning or losing. If you're losing, it's harder to manage somebody's ego, especially if they came to the team because they think you guys are going to be a super team, and then you don't be a super team. I think that's where you're going to have to – I think that's where if you're not winning, I think that's when Mike McDaniels is going to have to put on the big boy pants and, talk about controlling themselves.
I tell you what, I'm going to finish with Miami on this. We all talked about a lot of different things, especially about managing those egos. But the biggest thing the Miami Dolphins got to do is they got to protect Tua. Like you said last night, Ryan, he about one hit away from losing his head completely. If you can't protect him, you can't win. Now I get it. You went over there and got somebody to back him up, but yeah. Okay, so I'm definitely shooting for the stars here, but yeah, you supposedly got somebody to back him up. But instead of getting somebody to back him up, wouldn't it make more sense to just get somebody to protect him?
Yeah.
I mean, how about we keep our quarterback upright and not in concussion protocol?
Exactly.
I mean, wouldn't that be the best thing to do? That's insane to me. Guys, I gotta tell you, this is one of the best shows that we've done. You guys as guests has made me, it just makes me feel good. It just makes me feel good that I have somebody to actually sit down and talk football about on camera that know what they're talking about. And just understand, I'm gonna be leaning on you guys sometimes to come on the show until other fans decide they want to come on the show. So let me say this out loud for those who are going to watch this later. The way this really actually works is these two guys were the first contributors to the show. They were the first people to come on and actually support the show, so they get a chance to come on. Anybody who contributes to the show is going to have a chance to come on. And there's other people who have contributed that just chose not to come on. They didn't want to do it. They were just doing it to help me. But with that being said, it's kind of funny because when I first started this show, I was kind of hoping that I got to interact with some Cowboy fans and some Bills fans and some of those people who really, really talk. they talk, but not one Cowboy fan that's contributed, nor and every single Cowboy fan that I have asked to come on the show, just to ask them to come on the show, did not want to come.
Get
The
permission.
homeless shelter.
They got to get permission from Jerry Jones.
Right.
You got to hang out around more homeless shelters.
I mean, so when people ask me, why is it that nobody else came on with you, are you always talking about the Saints? Well, I challenge you. Any Dallas fan want to come on this show? Let's talk about Dallas, but better know what you're talking about when you come on the show. That's all I'm saying. I mean, don't come on this show with all a bunch of I got 5 rings and all that. You know, we going to the bowl next year. Don't come on here with that. Come on and be able to tell me why you're going to the Dallas Cowboys. Let me personally, as I end this show and I get to the updates and with Richard and bring on my producer. First, let's start with you, Rod. What did you enjoy about it, man? Did you enjoy the show?
Man, I just always love the conversation, especially, talking sports with people who know sports, man. I told you always spit facts, bro. That's why I love being here with you. That's why I love representing with you. Raya, my man, brought some passion in here today.
Right.
That's what I'm talking about, man. So it's just been lovely. It's just been lovely, man. I love it.
And Rod, this is your first time, man. What did you think about the show?
Man, it's the same thing Rod said. I love the vibe, and everybody it's just like having a conversation with your boys. It's not, oh, this and that and this. It's just, hey, we're just giving our opinions. We are not professional. We're not getting paid for this. It's just a place to come out and talk about sports.
We're not getting paid.
The NFL, it's all it's copyright infringement. Yeah, no, we are not getting paid at all. It's just us vibing with each other and having a good time talking about sports stuff we love.
Mm-hmm. I mean, y'all know I appreciate both of y'all. Now, for everybody, and you two involved, you two also, just hang around for a second. For everybody who's watched the show and will watch this show later, these two young men have really, really kind of took the show under their wing and been of great support in all types of ways to the show. We did a fundraiser last month. I made a video saying that we really appreciate everything that we were able to gather. And as you can see right now, and I'm getting ready to bring my producer on to talk more about the updates and the progress. But as you can see, from day one to now, the show has improved. My wife has been really on me about sharing my vision with the audience, because if you heard the entire vision, you'll realize, take your favorite show, whether it was the Jeffersons, Friends, or whatever it may have been. By the way, both of those were one of my favorite shows, whatever it may be, and just look at this show. That's my vision for this show. Every week, to bring you content that you don't hear everywhere else. That's my goal. So although the fundraiser is gone, these guys just told you, we do this for free. I mean, I wish I could tell you I was making a lot of money. Believe me, my wife reminds me every day that it has to make money, baby. But I have to tell her it's a baby. And what do you have to do with a baby? You have to feed that baby. You have to clothe that baby. You have to do everything. My wife, and Rashad will tell you, my wife wants it now. And she's like, you know sports, I don't understand why people just won't understand. Support the doggone show. If they're a gambler, they're gonna win money, and you should charge them for that. And it's just it just goes on and on and on. I mean, so we are asking for you guys to help us contribute to the show. We don't care what it is. I mean, if you got $5, $10, $20, we don't care. All of it helps because we're gonna turn it around and put it right back into the show. That's what we're doing. So anything that you guys can help, anything you guys can pitch into, fine. If you can't pitch in and you're in a situation where you're just in a bind and you can't give, sort of like me right now, I'm just saying, and you can't give, then guess what? You can like it, you can share it, you can comment on it, it doesn't matter. All of it works for us. Everything works for us. So the more this show grows, the more we can give you this good content. We want to keep giving it to you. So anybody that can do that, we really, really appreciate it. The Cash App is going to be in the comments after the show. So feel free to do it if you have it. If you don't, that's okay. We just like you to watch. And with that being said, let me bring on my boy, Rabbit. Rashard, tell him about the progress. Tell him about the update.
Yo, Here we go, yo. So what's the scenario? What happening?
Whoa.
What's good? What's going on? You know what I'm saying? Just kicking it with you guys. You know what I'm saying? You guys about it. I like it. What's up?
So tell them about it, Richard. What's going on, man?
I mean, basically, you seeing it, connecting, having multiple guests, having more guests, what I'm saying? That's gonna be, the biggest thing that we were aiming for. We want more of you guys to be able to come on the show, having Ryan and having Rod on the show today, that by itself is, it's a blessing and an upgrade in itself. You know what I mean? We're multi-streaming. So if you're watching this on Richard Cole's page, or if you're watching this from Let's Talk Sports on Facebook or on YouTube, that's all, that's what everything is going for. Just expanding the reach, making it more accessible for you guys.
Bro, I gotta tell them about a story. And it's a good story. It's a life story. It's not just, this is not about sports, but I gotta tell them. If you ain't figured it out, me and Richard have been friends a long time. So, but watch this. Now, Raya and Rod, please, y'all hear me when I say this. This is what happened the day of the production meeting. Now, y'all were on the production meeting last night, but y'all wasn't on that. Y'all weren't in that phone conversation that morning before we did the production meeting, okay? And Rashard comes to me and he says, Cole, listen, bruh, you're killing me. I cannot keep up with you. You're switching from team to team. You're switching from this, and that. It's not going to work that way. I need you to slow the freak down. Talk
Not
about
exactly the words
one
that I said,
team.
but close enough. I'll put a little
I cannot.
spice on that.
I can't do it. So, and he said, I need you to slow down because I can't keep up with it. You have to stay on task. You have to stay on task. Now, the reason I bring it up is all of us are grown. We spend so much time in our life thinking that people are trying to criticize us when they're actually trying to help us. I mean, they're actually saying, hey, I'm trying to help you. In other words, everything Richard tells me, and believe me, that ain't the only thing he tells me to correct things in my life. And believe me, I give it back to correct things in my life. But I guess what I'm saying is, what if we did that as a people? Like everybody did that with each other, and nobody would get offended. Like if somebody would say, "Hey, Ryan, listen, if you did this, and this, man, you will be much better. I need you to do this, and you looked at him and said, I feel you on that. You see what I'm saying? Instead of saying, oh man, forget you, or this, and that, I don't have to listen to
I
all this
can't
stuff.
believe he told me that. No, he didn't. Oh, my bad. I wasn't on mute. My bad.
Rob, I mean, Rob, what you think about that?
It shows maturity, number one, to be able to do that. If you're not getting offended by people just telling you something, but we all have egos, and most of us have wives, and they love to remind us what we do wrong.
Yeah.
All the time.
I love you, baby.
Exactly. But sometimes if we would take some of that criticism a little bit more constructively, and we'd come out a lot better. But it is what it is, man.
It is what it is. With that being said, as I end the show, I want to thank you guys again for coming on. The next time you guys want to come on, y'all just let me know. Y'all have an open door policy with this show from this point on. And I want to just send a small message out to those who watch this show later. We appreciate every time you watch this show. We really, really, really appreciate you because we are just getting started. Look how much we've done in a short period of time. For those who don't know, this show actually started in September of last year. We're just reaching out 6 months, and look how far we have came. Why do I say that? Let's Talk Sports really, really, really needs your help. Your help comes from audience. Your help comes from sharing. Your help comes from contributions. Your help. Listen, you can go to YouTube and find 1,000 freaking podcasts. And believe me when I tell you, I've looked at it, almost every one of them, because I wanted to see if anybody was going to talk about things like we talk about things. I haven't found one yet. Not one. Every single podcast you watch is going to give you the closest one I can say, and I always forget his name. Um, oh God, he was the punter for Indianapolis for the longest, and now he has his own. Pat McAfee. Thank you, Pat McAfee. He, yeah, they're right. but but really, that's the closest show. But even on that show, they give a lot of stats and analytics. We ain't giving it to you, y'all. We're gonna give it to you the way it should be given to you. And I'm just gonna put that out there. If we can get contributions and get this show right, we want it. I'm telling you guys, you're never ever gonna be able to go to a podcast and say, it's just like no, this is gonna be totally different. Just I promise you, next week when I start the show, I am going to go over what the whole vision is. That's how I'm gonna begin the show, so you guys can see where we're trying to go with this. With all that being said, all you guys again, thank you so much for all the help that y'all give. Rashard, you know I got number love for you for all the production behind the scenes, and I know how much your butt have to do to say that you'll do it free, man. And it just warms my heart to think that all of these guys are get on giving me their time, which is way more important than a dollar or anything else, to talk about something that we all love. With that being said, this is Richard Cole with Rod, Raya, Rabbit. Peace. We out.